Dear students of 9A and 9B, today's lesson, the same one as I started teaching from the beginning. The Industrial Revolution. Some points as I mentioned in the board. The first one, motor cars. Who invented motor cars? During Industrial Revolution, one German scientist invented motor cars, which was run by petrol. This petrol motor car was invented by a German scientist named Wilhelm Dalmar. He invented the petrol motor car during industrial age. That means at the end of the 19th century. At the end of the 19th century, he invented a petrol motor car. A motor car ran on petrol. And next one, waterways. Next point, waterways. What is waterways, my dear students? A network of river route, a network of connecting major industrial belts, industrial areas through sea route, through waterways. This system is known as waterways. It was used by the British industrialists. The scientists invented a number of machines, and at the same time, the British capitalists, the British industrialists, the British rulers, they utilized this properly for the conveniences of the people. They utilized the cheap mode of communication, the waterways, and became helpful. And next one, communication. Communication also had become another factor during industrial age. Morse invented Morse code. Why? For sending messages through telegraph and telegraph wires. And it was done for the first time. The electric telegraph came into existence in the year 1835 CE. And after a gap of 16 years, an underwater cable also was laid down between England and France. And this transatlantic cable was set up in the year 1866 to purify the system of sending message more perfectly, more actively. That's why this underground cable, this transatlantic cable in between, initially it was set up in between two countries, England and France, and later the underground cable also was set up in order to communicate with other countries of the world. That's why Cyrus Field, an American, he started extending wire cable under the sea. And this wire cable, which started connecting one country to another country under the sea level, is known as transatlantic wire cable. Transatlantic wire cable. This system was introduced by an American, and this American in the year another one who was inspired by it, Graham Bell. Graham Bell, who invented telephone, he was inspired about it. The idea inspired Graham Bell a lot. That's why Graham Bell invented telephone. And this invention helped people to stay in touch over long distances, and made long distance business easier to handle. And next point, my dear students, large scale industry, large scale production. The production which was totally dependent on small scale or handicapped industries. People got themselves engaged in handicapped industry, in small scale industries. Their earnings also were less. They remain busy in production all day long, from day to night, even whole day, whole night. They remain busy. Only few minutes of time they would have for eating, or for using toilet, or for taking baths, or for few hours of time they 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 slept. But most of the time they remain busy in making money because they knew that the production would give them money. So they worked hard. They worked hard from day to night, and ultimately the amount whatever they earned, it was not also not enough, not adequate for them. But still they remain happy. They led a very happy life, peaceful life. But as soon as the industrial revolution took place, as soon as a number of machines were invented and large scale industry paved the way of a large industrial production. In that case, the small scale industry or cottage industry was totally ruined, and they all became jobless people. And large scale industry, established large scale industry shifted the small scale industry and occupied a covetable position because of its large production. Machines started working instead of manual labor. So machines started producing large quantities of productive goods, which also, which were required to be sold in different parts of the world. That's why the British, decided to establish their colonies in different parts of the world, in India, in Africa, in Asia, in different countries of Asia. They one by one they established their colonies and utilized its natural resources, raw materials, in order to meet the growing demand of their factories and industries in England. And as a result of it, the British got themselves benefited during industrial age. Now increasing wealth, mass production resulted in expansion of trade and commerce. Only mass production. This mass production resulted in expansion of trade and commerce. Surplus goods were sold in other countries. This increased in the national wealth of the industrialized countries, especially England. England was the most important country where the industrial revolution took place. This country got herself benefited with with its national wealth, what she made by dint of hard labor, by dint of economic stability, and by dint of the natural resources, geographical importance of its place, and by dint of its colonies, whatever colonies she established in different parts of the world, Asia, Europe, and Africa. She utilized its natural resources and raw materials and got it utilized for its industry. And as a result, this country became much more benefited during that age. And next one, improvement of standard living. Improvement in the standard of living. People who migrated themselves from villages to town, who shifted their settlement from village to town, who came to cities in search of better occupation, better jobs, they almost all were able to lead a very modern lifestyle, because while staying at villages, while living in the villages, they did not have any scope to provide education for their children. They did not have scope to join entertainment works, to enjoy with other works for entertainments. Neither they could enjoy entertainments, nor they could provide children's education. So they almost all became illiterates, uncultural, and brute. But on reaching cities and towns, by earning much more amount of money than the villages, they led a very new lifestyle, a very modern lifestyle, and they all provided education for their children, for their all-round development. They all became benefited with a number of educational centers, a number of centers of entertainments, a number of clubs, a number of health centers in order to check their health, whether they would have any kind of diseases, and by this way they change their taste of living, and ultimately there came a repercussion among their minds, and they almost all became a complete man, civilized persons. Naturally, the other villagers who still remained there, they decided to follow the footsteps of them, and they all became a part of the cities. They all shifted from villages to towns and cities. Some of them, they were able to lead a very new lifestyle, modern lifestyle. Those who were efficient, skillful, talented, they started earning a lot of money, minimum amount of money for their daily expenses. And those who are unable to earn money, unskilled laborers, they repented for leaving their villages, because while staying in their villages, they had no such kind of problems they faced while reaching in cities in search of better occupation, because the condition of the laborers in the factories and industries were not as good as we can admire, because most of the factory owners, they utilize all unskilled laborers, force them to work from day to night. Even children and people also women also are forced to work hard, but at a very low wage. And it is due to that reason their life had become very miserable. Neither they would provide any health facilities, nor they would provide any good quarters where sunlight could easily enter, air could easily pass, and they could stay, they could live, they could stay very comfortably without being attacked by any kind of diseases. But it happened. It not yet happened. What happened? What thing had happened? What happened was deaths of millions of people. A number of people died without being treated, without being provided with medical facilities. Naturally, the factory owners got themselves benefited, and the poor peasants and farmers who left their villages in search of better occupation, neither they could provide education for their children, nor they could lead a very modern lifestyle. On the contrary, their life became very miserable, and they died an untimely death, and this resulted in discontentment, impoverishment throughout the system of industrial age. My dear students, next day the remaining part will be continued. Thank you.